All right, so it's good to meet you today. You've been training with Mark Tibbs. Introduce yourself for people who don't know who you are.
Yeah, what's happening, people? I am Filey, aka the captain, and you'll be seeing me on your screen very, very soon. And I hope you're happy to see what I'm going to put out there now. I'm going to entertain people and hopefully get some knockouts and some big titles in the future.
You already sound like quite a good talker, so this should be a good interview. Tell us about your background. How many fights did you have for West Ham?
As an amateur, I've had probably close to about 60 fights. Doing it over a decade now, so about 19. Doing a sport a decade, that's already going to give me an advantage on anyone else that's jumping into late. And I've seen everything. I've seen southpaws, I've seen orthodoxies, I've seen both, I've seen everything. So to now go into the pro game, I can't wait. I'm buzzing off it. I'm happy.
Sounds good. You've been training with Mark Tibbs. Obviously, have you sparred any of these professionals yet?
Yeah, when John and Tommy, even when they're starting their camps, because I'm a bit lighter but I'm sharp and I'm fast, I mix in with them and move around with them, show them some different angles, show them some different looks. And I'm quicker than them, so they've got to keep up with my pace, and so it's great to move around with them. The experienced prospects, should we say. They're prospects, but they've had 5, 6, 7 now, and they're just pushing into a bit more of an experienced era of boxing. So to move around with them guys, it's great, it's great.
That sounds good. Regarding the transition to pro, explain to us the process of how do you build your career as a professional boxer in terms of, obviously, you've got the two main parts. The fighting, you've got to be able to fight, and then the personality slash publicity. How do you intend to build both sides of it?
In the ring,
Yeah.
as long as you entertain or knock out, you're always gonna do alright. Win, 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 and no one can tell you that. That's my thing.
Yeah.
And that side of the ring, I think, as long as you have a personality that can attract people and people can connect with on a level, then it's always going to be smiles. You know what I mean? I'm not out here to put on a fake personality or a fake persona. I'm out here being me, and if you like me, you like me, and if you don't, you don't. But you're going to watch me win either way, so who cares? You know what I mean? That's where I'm at with it. So yeah, but I think you should always approach it with a very professional manner, especially in this sport where everything's filmed, everything's put out there, everyone's got an opinion.
Yeah.
So you do have to be wary of anyone's going to say anything, and take it with a pinch of salt and keep being you. I think that's the only way you can really stay healthy in the sport. Otherwise, 10 years down the line, you're going to be done, because it's a hard game. It's a hard game.
No, you seem a very bright guy. When you say the whole thing about opinions, a lot of fighters seem to get offended. Not everyone, but I can tell you people I've known on a personal level. Amir Khan, Dylan. Thing is, look, if I'm giving an opinion, like you and me are both talkers, if I say, from what I've seen of you 10 seconds, if you're on the same top table as Katie Taylor, I believe you're going to be a better talker than her. Same with me. I'm a very, very confident talker.
Sit here and talk all day, and you know what I mean? It can go off anywhere. I think with the talking,
yeah,
you've got to be confident, but you've got to show your personality out there and not shy away from anything. You see people that are in interview and they're shying away from the camera. It's not a thing. Like you say, for people to connect with me as a fighter and want to buy my tickets or come to my shows and watch they've got to connect with me right now on this camera, so I've got to show them what I'm all about and talk with a bit of confidence and not sit over here shying away, speaking softly. I've got to come and speak with a bit of chest. And I think that's what
exactly.
Because if I'm here speaking confident with a bit of chest, it doesn't matter what your opinion is or what you've got to say. I'm still going to say it, and I'm still going to put it out there, and it's going to be great. You know what I mean? So I think opinions. Most of the people that type in the comments, they ain't even took a punch in their life. What have you got to tell me?
Exactly. Things like, I think everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I was talking to Tommy just now, and when he said this thing about people that will tell you to, oh, he should have jabbed more, but it's not a realistic opinion. Like, because I've boxed and sparred, if I got in the ring tomorrow with Lomachenko, I've sparred a lot of people. I've sparred Kell Brook. If I got in the ring with Lomachenko, I'm not good enough. I'm not quick enough. I'm not going to land jabs on him. The best I can hope for is that he's kind enough to not take them. They say you should jab more. Mate, I know how to jab. If you put me in the ring with Eddie Hearn, I think I'll land plenty of shots. But I feel like Lomachenko, but I'm not good enough. It's not about landing. Well, if I put my hand out there, this guy might counter me over the top.
Yeah, the guys like them Lomachenko's and them elite fighters are in a top echelon and percentage of human being, full stop. Not
Yeah.
boxer, athlete, human being, full stop. So to be an average guy, an average fighter, an average person who just trains and is learning sport day by day, is always something. To compete with one of those guys is like me doing a 100-meter race against Usain Bolt. You're going to see Usain Bolt go, and then about 15 seconds later, you're going to see me come behind him.
Exactly.
It's not gonna put us up, but like you say, this is where boxing gets good. You can get someone who's so vastly better, amazingly respectful. You could have a spar, and he'll come out learning 1,000 new things.
Exactly.
Just because you have had a spar. That's the difference where people do technical sparring, light sparring, open sparring. That needs to be said before you get into the ring. If me and you went, all right, we're going to spar, it's going to be an open spar. For me, I'm now thinking, all right, as hard as you want to hit me is as hard as I'm going to hit you. You know
And
what I mean?
that's all good.
And if you went, all right, I'm going to do a move, technical spar, all right, I'm looking to touch, measure, show a couple angles on it, maybe do something I don't usually do. I'm like orthodox. I'm a southpaw. I'm not one of the guys that changes and that. I'm a southpaw.
Oh, southpaw, okay.
Southpaw. I ain't changing. So I'm like, all right, this guy's not as good as me, but he's still good. Let me go orthodox. Let me see how I measure myself up. I might get comfortable. I might start enjoying it, and then I can bring that into my proper game. You know what I mean? Like when I'm really trying, I can go, look, I practiced this bit of orthodox earlier with this guy. I done 3-4 rounds. I feel pretty good. Do you know what I mean?
No, I
And
hear
so
you.
can start building it on. You can't do something new in an intense environment straight away. It's never going to work. That's like doing a test without revising. You're never going to pass. You know what I mean? You have to practice first. So that's on a bag, on a pad, with a human, with anyone. With anyone. I'm an advocate for softer sparring, but I also want tough sparring. When most of the time it's not in my favour. Mark's had me in there with 36-year-old men that are fucking coming in the back end of their career. They ain't taking it light on me. You know what I mean? Once I drop my hands or I do a little shuffle or something, they come and take my head off. That's what you want. It's in a fight. He's gonna come and take my head off. He ain't gonna try and touch me and measure me, is he?
No.
So you've got to be prepared for that all the time. But you've got to practice before you get to that point. Otherwise, whatever you do at that point is not well executed, or there's no good form behind it. You see what I mean? It has to be practiced 100%.
I'll give you an example. Thing is, that's some excellent points you raised. Did you watch very briefly, did you watch the Tommy Fury Jake Paul fight?
I see the highlights of it.
The only reason I'm not going to go into it, but as an example with Jake, because he was so used to taking on easy competition, you took on Anderson Silva, who's an old man. When you got in the ring with Tommy, someone was doing it for years, he wasn't able to handle it. He was made to look very basic. And going back to what you're saying, if you take all that time, when you say some of these guys are 36, you need to mentally look at it. Like when I spar, I'm very chill. I've sparred, men, women, kids. I've sparred people that can't land a shot on me, but I'm not going to do anything. I'll just say, I sparred someone once who landed a lucky shot. And I said to myself, I'm not going to react, but I just said, you know what, if I'm much better than the person, if I let you land that lucky shot, I know I'm the one that's got the problem. I can't be letting that happen again, because that was someone my level. I'm in problems right now. So what I do, the way you got to look at spot, use people, even if you're 10 times better, use them. Like say, you know what, realistically, you're not going to land one shot on me. Don't tell them that. And but I've got nothing to gain from knocking out people that I'm better than. I know for a fact I can't knock you out. If I knock out someone, I can, but then that's a coward. Because if I come take you on, that's a coward.
Like you say, me and you spar, you roll on first. I'm obviously the favourite for the spar. I can come in there and do whatever I want.
If you wanted, yeah.
Realistically, what am I going to get out of that?
Nothing.
You know what I mean? I could go and knock over 100 tomato cans outside. I'm not going to get any better in it. You know what I mean? So I think everyone has a style, whether they're good or bad, they've got a style. It might be raw, it might be a bit shit, but they've got a style. So to work and to look at that style is never a bad thing.
Yeah.
And to say you start with bad people, a lot of the early journeymen that I've seen these prospects fight are just as useless. But people are not used to a weird look or a raw look. They're used to a normal stand up, put my hands on my chin, boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's good to get in them raw guys. They throw shots and they'll throw something you don't see coming. And it's good, like you say, put your toes, not get hit. If I come out of the spar, 6-round spar with a geezer, and I ain't been hit once, I'm going, yeah, it's a good spar.
Exactly.
I might only hit him twice in the 6 rounds because I've hit me once. Do you know what I mean? I'm slipping. I've got my hands on my hips and he's still ain't hitting me. So to put yourself at that test and to test your own mind is perfect. It's a perfect way to push your way into a sport, especially if you're early camp. If you're early camp, you just come back from a nice layoff. You don't want to get in there nice and heavy. This gear's going bang, 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 because you're going to think, fuck this.
Exactly.
I've got 6 weeks left and I'm already getting beat up, you know what I mean? Ease me into it. And then, when the sparring gets tough, if I'm still getting punched in the head, then something's wrong. But if we've eased in, building the rounds up, building the opposition of spar, and it has to be to the same caliber that you're going to fight. There's no point sparring guys that are 10 times better than the guy you're going to fight. What's the point of that?
It's not.
Because you're not ready for the guy you're going to fight. You're going to fight this one guy. You're not fighting Tyson Fury. You're fighting whoever. Do you know what I mean? So there is that's down to coaching. The coach has to the experience and understand that kind of thing. I'm very lucky with having someone like Mark and Jimmy. They've been doing this for more years than I have fingers, you know what I mean? So
I know.
To have that kind of outlook on it, to think you don't come in the gym every day and do 100%.
No.
You come in the gym some days and go, right, today we're going to do 60%, we're going to do 50%. But at the end of the week on Friday, you've got a nice tough spar, that's your 100% day. If you go 100% 5 days a week, good luck to you. Good luck to you. You're going to have an injury here, there, over there. This is going to be hurt, that's going to be hurt. You've got a black eye, you've got a cut. Longevity is how champions are. For a perfect example of that. Even if he had 50 odd fights, he's still fighting now, he's 46 years old. I've never seen him with a cut or a black eye.
No.
Longevity is the key. A lot of fighters get punch drunk by the time they even get by the time they're 30 and they're in their prime of their career, they can't speak. And you're like, oh, that's not how it should be. You should be having your experience then, when you was 20 to 30, and now you're in your prime, you're cashing your money in, you're having your big fights, you're calling your people out, you're going for it. You know what I mean? So, I feel like some people ruin it for themselves, not having that kind of experience and knowledge and safety. At the end of the day, you want to keep this safe. You don't want this to get hit 70 times a week because you'll be slurring your words by the time you're 25, and there's no longevity in that. And the only way to earn money is fighting a lot. Do you know what I mean? If you get 50 fights, no matter you win, lose, or you draw them, you're going to earn a nice bit of money for 50 odd fights. Do you know what I mean? So I think longevity and consistency is the key in this sport. And I think people need to train with that same mindset. Although it's a fighting sport and you want to win and it's 100% and it's raw, this testosterone boosting fucking fight, people can be smart. And the smart fighter usually wins 9 times out of 10. The smart fighter wins. He may put on a bravado of that I'm tough and I'm this and I'm that. He won because he was the smartest guy in the camp and in the fight. That's my take.
No, you're an excellent talker. I think you're. I never lie to people. You're very bright. You know how to articulate yourself. To finish off, following on from what you just said, I'll give you a quick example. I'm not trying to show off. I've sparred Kelbrook on camera before. Before it happened, though, I walked into his gym once, and yeah, Kel was there. Dominic Ingle was there. I said, Dominic, is it okay to have a little move around with Kel on camera? And he said, no, he's in camp for a fight. No. I said, like anything? He said, no, he's in camp. Ask me after the fight. I watched him, so he got in the ring with someone. Kelbrook came out. He threw a massive uppercut, boom, hit the guy. I mean, I've seen plenty of people spar. I've seen Tyson Fury spar in the gym. The reason I'm talking about this, he hit the guy with a massive uppercut, and the point of me bringing this up, a lot of fighters don't. The damage is getting done because that part, it was a massive part, and when he landed, I thought, flip's sake, I'm glad I'm not in there. I mean, I don't think he'd hit me that hard, but a lot of they don't rip the damage because you're going through these long camps, and then it's like you. But then the work gets left in the gym. I mean, if you look at Canelo, I mean, the guy fights quite frequently. Back in the day, Mike Tyson, this guy was fighting so often. Do you remember a guy called Harry Greb? Sugar Ray Robinson. But this guy, Sugar Ray Robinson, lost the fight to Turpin. He lost, came back and beat him 6 weeks later.
But that era of boxing is a
You think it's too different now?
It's different sport in my eyes.
Okay.
15 rounds, 12 rounds. The style was different. It was a bit more... Nowadays, people take it technical and take it slow. And, you know what I mean? Back in them days, people was there to excite people and knock them out. So even in a big fight, no one was thinking, I'm going to sit behind the jab for 6 rounds and win the early rounds, and then I'm going to take him late. These guys, if you watch Hagler, Hearns,
I saw that fight.
Duran, Sugar, that whole Fabulous Four fighting each other. They went for it every single time. There was no
mercy.
Rest round. They was just going bang. Different period. Everyone's more methodical now, because of the way people look at it as a business, and people want longevity and people want to make money. That's the way they look at it. Back then, it was
fighting first.
Fight, and be the best. So that mentality changes the whole pool, because if that guy over there is thinking with that mentality, and I'm not, he's probably going to beat most of the other guys because he's coming
hungry.
Marvin Hagler, he used to just go out running every day just because of the fucking fun of it. Bernard Hopkins just kept going. These guys come to fight and come to win, so they'll beat the guy that isn't training as hard.
Of course.
But if everyone's got that same methodical mindset, at that point it becomes who's the smartest, who bases themselves, who is in the camp, is putting their things right, who's watching video. You see a lot. You look at UFC. I look at the UFC a lot.
Yeah.
John Jones is a great example. He probably watches 4 hours of film a day on someone. If you watch that much film on a fighter or on a person, you'll learn a lot. You'll learn a lot how they react to punches, how they, when it's not going right, how they try and turn it around, how when they're on top, they try and stay on top. And I think to understand that about a vast different amount of fighters will not only give you an insight, but will improve your own game as well. I don't do everything the best. No one does everything the best. So to watch other people, even from different eras, is always a good thing. Always a good thing. And I would say to any fighter, young, old, retired, coming into it, doesn't even like boxing, watch it. Watch fighting, get used to fighting. Because if you're watching it and squinting a little bit, going, oh, I don't like that, not for you.
Of course not.
You need to be able to watch it, but watch it like you're reading a book. You understand what's going on. Why is he doing that? Why is he looking there? Why is he faking down that? Oh, because he's going to throw that over the top. There's a Mayweather clip. He goes jab body, gives a little look. Jab body, gives a little look. Jab body, gives a little look. Gives the look and goes whack over the top. And I think he drops the guy with the lead hook. It's unbelievable. But to understand them setups, you have to watch film. Because you can't just jump into a ring and go, oh, what am I going to do today? Oh, I'm going to jab body, I'm going to jab body again. I'm going to jab body again, and then I'm going to go look. You're not going to do that.
No.
You're only going to learn that off of someone great. And that's how greatness happens. Because then, I might go, all right, that seems to work. Let me try it with the backhand. Let me backhand to the body. On the further, backhand over the top. And that might land. Take it into a fight, spectacular knockout. Everyone's going, oh, this kid's really amazing. No, all I've done was watch a bit of film, done it in sparring, and lined it up perfectly for a fight. There's no
secret or magic
to it.
There's
no secret here, do you know what I mean? Anyone can go and do it, it's just who can pull it off the best. That's the magic behind boxing. Who pulls off the knockouts best? You look at, in our gym, it's a great diverse pool of fighters in this gym.
Yeah.
And I think it brings everyone to the best of their game, because in this gym, there's always someone better than you at something. I'll use John Hedges' Tommy Fletcher for example. John Hedges is a fucking boxing genius. He's a mastermind. And when he grows up to be older, he will be He'll be like a Tyson Fury. You'll think, oh my God, this kid's a great boxer. He understands it from a present point of view as it's unfolding in a spar, in a fight. If you watch his last fight the other day, he understands what's going on. But he don't hit the hardest. So he's not going to touch you and knock you out lights out. He hasn't got that power, he ain't got that. You look at someone like Tommy, he's not as a great boxer as John. He hasn't got that as much. He has an understanding, a brilliant understanding. To be at this level, you have to have a good understanding.
Of course, yeah.
But it's not as
developed as
John Hendry. But Tommy has said that a lot of fighters don't have
power.
Unbelievable power. Unbelievable. He has a Wilder type power. They're lanky, they're skinny, it's long power. They're hitting you from 6 foot away and turning you off. You're like, oh my God, I didn't even see it coming. So, for John to go they're on the bags. He looks over, goes to Tom, God, he's fucking smashing that bag to bits. He can look at him and go, oh, how is he doing that? Like, he's setting himself up there and then he's going whack. He's putting his shoulder back here, he's going whack. He's getting himself a nice bit of distance. John does that, keeps doing it, keeps doing it. Keeps doing it. As his body's growing, as he's down doing S&C with Sonny Cannon, one day he's going to go, turn someone's lights off and go, oh my God, it's all that happened. And the same with Tommy. He can look over at John and go, he's throwing a nice feint there, he's throwing a nice feint, then putting it over, he's leaving a little look. That's great. It's great. And it's good for Johnny Fisher.
Yeah.
He's not as an experienced amateur. He had about 6-10 fights as an amateur. But obviously he's outside of the ring, he is one of the best self-promoters there is in this fucking game.
Yep.
He sells a stupid load of tickets, has an amazing fan base that love him, and can fight. The geezer can fight. He's one-dimensional at the minute, he's jab, bang, but it's effective and it works. So when his boxing game's getting better, looking at John and Tom and myself, he can even look at the girls, Ebony Bridges and Elle Brooke coming through. And do you know what I mean? Just take a little bit from them, watch them on the pads, listen to what Mark's giving them as advice and go, do I need that little bit of advice as well? Let me try it with that little bit of advice. And it just adds a bit of creativity and a little bit of, I don't know what the word is, a bit of
method.
A bit of evolving from
evolution. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Then them little things, them little 2%, 1%, 0.5%, after a fucking couple of times, you're at 100%. You know what I mean?
No, I agree, yeah.
Keep finding the little percents, and then eventually you're either going to make it or you're going to break it. So no one comes out of this life alive anyway. So you might as well fucking give it 100% while you're here. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's all about who plays the game the smartest. It's a game of chess, not checkers. And yeah.
I completely agree. I mean, you're never too good not to improve.
No.
You know, Muhammad Ali, he didn't throw a lot of body shots. You know, even him, he's someone that could have said, all right, let me learn how to throw a body.
How do these guys do it?
Well, you can always learn something. You can always, you know.
100%. That's why I like the stable film. I like it where there's 5, 6 of us in it.
Yeah.
All working off each other, all feeding off each other's energy and each other's vibe. There might be one guy who comes in that morning feeling fucked, feeling sore, got a black eye from sparring the other day, he's not feeling great. If the other 5 guys in the gym are working hard, everyone wants to work, everyone's here and wants to be here, that other guy's, that's infectious.
Of course.
That other guy's going to go, God, I don't feel sore here now, I'm ready to go. Do you know what I mean? So
I know what you mean.
I think when people just go, I've got this trainer, it's just me, I think that's a very lonely world to be in. I think it's very nice to have people here at different levels, different abilities. Like I say, we've got Elle Brooke in here. She's been boxing for probably no more than about 2 years, a year. And the improvements that girl has made has been, it's pretty magical, I'll be honest.
Wow.
To see what he's done and to bring her through, I reckon if she was an amateur, she'd compete with most of them girls at national level and maybe a bit national level. I know most of the girls on that circuit, and at the minute, she's looking pretty fucking good. And in this influencer boxing world, she's at the top of the game, top of the food chain, and I don't see many of them other girls getting close to her because they ain't taking it as serious as she is.
No.
She's in the gym with 5, 6 other pros. Ebony, a world champion's her best mate, feeding off that energy, hearing the advice. None of them other girls are getting that same kind of pedigree around them, are they?
I mean, who's she even sparring? Do they bring people for
They
her?
bring in pros in for her.
Pros?
She moved around with Ebony.
Yeah.
They use other influencer girls, I believe.
Oh, okay.
To give that same kind of look and feel and see how them fighters react to what she does. But yeah, she treats it like she's a professional in this game, and that's why she's ahead of the curve. Jake Paul is the same. In the influencer field and the male side, he's top of the game because he's treating it like this is his job, which is right. This is how boxing and fighting isn't a game and isn't something you should take lightly.
Yeah.
People go in this ring and don't come out the same. Look at Michael Watson.
Of course, he's
Great
visited.
fighter.
Yeah.
Great. Jimmy Tipson's one of his best fights he's ever had. But he went into the ring one night, didn't come out the same. You can't play games in this sport.
No.
You have to be serious. Because if you're playing a game and someone else is taking it serious, they're gonna fucking hit you. You know what I mean?
Of course, they got the
They're gonna
advantage.
take it
Yeah.
serious.
Yeah. So they got the advantage on you.
Yeah. But I would have liked to feel like I'm being outworked. I'm crazy, I'm mental. I'll go for a run at 2 in the morning. I'll go for a run at 12 when it's pitch black, it's raining out there. Because I know whoever I'm fighting, whoever I'm sparring, or the other guys in the gym, they ain't doing that. They ain't as crazy as me. They ain't out there running. They ain't out there doing that. It's mental. People probably think I'm 11 stone and I'll get in there with John and Tom and I'm game. I'm ready to fight and I'll let my hands go. People, it's mental. How'd you go in there with it?
Well, I mean, it's not mental. Yeah. But I think when you say so go on.
Go on. Like I say, the respect between me and John and me and Tom, we're gonna get in there and work. No matter the size difference, we're gonna get some work in. We're gonna all work hard. We're gonna come out there sweating. We're gonna come out there puffing. We're both gonna learn a little something out of that as well. So, I believe when people try and limit themselves is when it all goes. You try and hold yourself in a straight path. I think you should be open to everything and try and take on everything. There's no advice is bad advice. It's just whether you choose to use it or not.
Exactly.
Whether you choose to use it or not.
But to finish off though, I wouldn't say going and running at 2 in the morning. I wouldn't call it mental. If that's something you want to do, then go for it. You're going to become better prepared, better conditioned than the next guy. And in terms of sparring those guys, I'll give you an example. I sparred Dean White once. You know Dean White?
I know Dean White, yeah.
I've got it on camera. Now, I'm not lying. Like, you'll even hear him say it on camera. Before I tell you what, the thing is, say I sparred Johnny Fisher today. The only thing I can say confidently, like I've sparred a lot of people, I believe my foot speed can give him problems. In my opinion, I'm very confident of that. Even Dean was struck, like he was getting frustrated. So a couple of the shots, he actually loaded up because this guy keeps moving too much. So if say I sparred John, or I mean, you're definitely better than me. People don't understand boxing like you or me do. So we can't, I'm not saying we can go in there and go toe to toe with Johnny Fisher, but if he agrees to go easy, we can show him things. We can say, if you can keep up with someone like me, I'm telling you, Dean White was struggling to keep up with my foot speed. Hand speed, he had no issue with my punches. Yeah. Foot speed, I was making him check. And the guy was, what's the word I'm looking, he don't know how to cut off a ring. Like, it was very...
So it's constant space for you to just walk in.
He hit me a couple of times. I thought, screw that. Like, once I realised how much quicker my feet are, so that would have been something for him to think about. And if I sparred Johnny, I believe, I mean, he's probably obviously better than Dean, but if I sparred Johnny, that's the only thing I've got on him.
That's a chance.
And I could, even, I can't give him competitive sparring, but if he can keep up with me, say he's sparred 8 nights, say he's exhausted, you jump in with someone like you or me, if you can keep the energy going, then you're going to benefit as well. And a lot of,
we do a lot of shadow sparring.
Yeah.
There's no contact, but you're in there looking at each other, feeding off each other's movements and things like that. So like you're saying with a foot speed there, me and Hedges will do it, or me and Fisher will do it. If they can keep up with me, or can keep anywhere close to what I'm working at. So if I work at 80%, and I can tell when I'm working at these percentages, and he's keeping up with me, I can look at Mark and go, he's gonna keep up with them heavyweights, no chance.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? And that confidence for the fighter, Johnny's confidence would go whoop, because he's like, I'm keeping up with this light weight. Wait till the fucking heavyweights get in the ring. Mark does it with me all the time. I probably haven't sparred someone of my size or smaller 6 months.
Wow.
Really, 6, 7 months. I'm just in there with big guys, grown men, developed men, and I'm holding my own. I'm learning to tame these men. So I'm not the stronger guy, but I'm the smarter guy. I'm keeping them at bay. I'm making them do what I want to do. When I get in with a light welter, it's peak for the light welter. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't care who he is or what he is. At some point, we're going to have a good bit of competition because you ain't going to hit me as hard as these guys.
No way.
Me. You ain't going to be as strong and as physical as these guys have hit me. But this is where, when we get closer to fight, it needs to get more realistic. So when I'm signing over and everything's in and we've got a date, we'll bring in some more smaller sparring, like you say, for the footwork, for the hand speed, because I've got the speed on them.
Exactly.
So I can make it work. Like you say. If I've got an advantage on you, if I play to that advantage for the whole time, it might not be the most interesting thing people want to see, but I'm going to win. You know what I mean? And winning's winning. Obviously, you want to do it in fashion, you want to do it like that, but win's a win, bro. Do you know what I mean?
No, just you take what you can get.
Out here. So, especially if it's a high competition.
Yeah.
That's where people need to look at the sport. People will get in there, like Joshua the weekend. There was a lot of things going around that you should knock him out, you should do it in this fashion, you should do it in that fashion. And I think that's tough. That's tough to say.
It is, yeah.
That's disrespectful to say to someone like Franklin, who I think is quite a good little fighter.
So do I.
A good shift against Dillian White.
Dillian White,
he was undefeated before Dillian White. People forget, 20 I don't know. Who them 20 people are, I don't know. I ain't looked it up. But to say Joshua's going to knock him out in 3 rounds, Joshua ain't the same guy before he fought Usyk. He's gun shy now. He don't want to have the shoot off for people.
It was that Ruiz fight that's done it.
He don't want to have that bomb. We don't want to get involved in it. And that's down to Joshua. But he still got in there and won a fight, unanimous decision, 18-11, whatever like that, and it's going to build him into bigger fights now. If he goes in there, alright, it'd be better if he went in there and took him out in 3 rounds.
Of course.
But if he goes in there, tries to take him out in 3 rounds, gets chinned and he's out, everyone's going, oh, he's a fucking shit.
Yeah, but the thing is, all I said very quickly, I wouldn't pay any attention to what people say, because they don't box, and even the other boxers or the media, but some of the things they're saying are not realistic, because you say, he should go and do, yeah, but listen, Franklin's not a bad fighter, he can fight. I mean, it's like me, I'll give you a quick example. I've known Mark Tibbs a long time. I first met him, let's say 2009. I used to spar Ahara Davies back then. So I'm someone who's dipped in and out of boxing. So even though I've not had a lot of fights, if you actually spar me, I've been around for a while. So I've been in now. When you keep jumping in and out with people like Brandon Rios and Kelly Pavlik, I did 1 round with them each.
Kelly Pavlik's unreal.
Honest, yeah.
That's one of my favourite fighters.
I only did 1 round each. But if you're going to get in and out of the ring with people like this, you're going to pick things up. So what I'm trying to say, I've sparred amateur fighters. I've only had 1 amateur fight. I've sparred guys that have had 10 amateur fights. I was able to dominate them in sparring. Make it that what you will. I'm not bragging for, ultimately judge people by what they do in fights. What I'm trying to say about Franklin, just because you don't know about him or he's not as well, don't mean the guy can't fight. It's a silly thing to...
Especially in heavyweight. It's very silly.
So a lot of the way these people talk, Bunce or Spencer, they come with unrealistic opinions. Yeah. You should go in and, he can fight. Can I give you one last example? I'll give you a better one. It's like Katie Taylor. She's been around, in terms of being in the public eye, much longer than I am. Mm-hmm. She's been interviewed so much more, she's been on TV. But if you take me and her, I'm a much better talker. But it's not fair to say to her, if you put me and her on the top 10, it's not fair to say, well, Katie's had a lot more media experience, blah, blah. Yeah. She should dominate. Well, that's not, I'm just more confident. That's not a fair, You give me that mic, it'll be very funny to watch. Yeah, I say, hey, Coogan, we've spoken about sparring before. When are you actually going to spar me? Say the same thing to Eddie. Eddie, you said you'd think about when you're going to spar. I'd be much funnier, which is not a knock.
That comes down to character and personality.
But it's not fair to say, obviously she's had much more experience. You can't just say, well, she should dominate Michael easy. Well, she's not going to dominate me in talking. No. That's what I'm trying to say about John. You can't just say, he should dominate. Yeah, but you don't know what Franklin's been doing. So that's not a fair, that's what I'm trying to get at.
It wasn't fair.
It's not fair,
I think Franklin put in a good shift. all right, in the later rounds he was jumping in and he was just grabbing for grabbing's sake. But a lot of people was moaning at Franklin about that. But I think Joshua has a role to play in that as well.
Yeah.
It weren't like, you didn't see Joshua trying to step back and let his hands go. If he does that once, Franklin ain't jumping in. He won't throwing nothing. So if you ain't throwing nothing, you're giving the shorter man the opportunity to do what you're moaning about.
Yeah.
So it's a role, it's a devil's advocate on both sides. You're not doing this and you could have stopped it, and he's doing the wrong thing, but the ref ain't getting involved, son. So you have to take that situation into your own hands. That's where I feel Anthony Joshua could have changed the fight on the weekend.
Yeah.
Because Franklin was obviously tired. You're not jabbing and then just grabbing for no reason, because he won't win in the rounds.
No.
He ain't doing it for that. He's doing it because blowing out his ass. But heavyweight, they're big guys. They're 18 odd stone doing 12 rounds. Like, that's impressive alone. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't like an old Joshua. If you look when he fought Klitschko, and when he knocked out Klitschko with the uppercut, I'm pretty sure Klitschko was coming to grab, and he stepped back, boom.
Yeah, I remember that.
Added another 2 inches on his neck. Do you know what I mean?
I saw it the other day.
Head nearly going through the roof. It was crazy. He weren't doing that. That's a change of Joshua. But yeah, I think it was very unfair the weekend of everyone saying that and just should have done this, should have done that.
It's irrelevant.
He got in there in front of 20,000 people at the O2, put on a good little shift. All right, it could have been more entertaining. That's an if, but, or a maybe. But when he fights again, all them same people are going to buy another ticket. It's still going to be £80 for a £40 ticket. People are going to pay it. They're going to sit bums in seats. They're going to buy some popcorn and they're going to watch it.
Well, I'll say very quickly, for me, I wouldn't pay any attention to what people say, because, as I said, but a lot of it's not realistic, it's not fair, and a lot of these people, but then they're part of the problem, because when these fighters lose fights, but you don't give realistic assessments, like when you got knocked out by Ruiz, don't get me wrong, I was going, Anthony's going to win this easy, but when he got knocked out, I didn't say anything bad, I just said, okay, I was surprised by that. I'm glad I didn't put money on it, but I just, okay, you've lost to someone who's a very experienced fighter, just take it back, step back, go back again. I mean, he's very muscle bound, he's got a lot of muscle in his frame. You're fighting like once, twice a year, so how what's another good example? From what I hear, I don't want to go into too much detail, but then a lot of the people Joshua's sparring, a lot of it's controlled sparring. You're not getting out there, you're not sparring abroad, you're not fighting different.
I know a couple of the fighters that he spars.
Yeah.
Personally, I know one of the guys. He's a smaller guy. I wouldn't say he's a heavyweight. He's probably a cruiserweight if he was a professional. He's a good guy. He's a slick guy. He's not a heavy hitter. That might tell you something about how they use Joshua's camp. They don't want to put him in there with big heavy hitters, which is down to the trainer. But I think that control sometimes can spiral out of control.
It has,
It has in recent Anthony Joshua fights. After he lost to Usyk, he looked like a spoiled baby. When he ran out, ran back in, done a speech, held the flag, oh yeah. And then the other night where he nearly had a fight with the trainer.
I saw that.
Do you know what I mean? So there's two little situations there that when it come out of his control, he lost control. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's good to have control all the time, but you need to be comfortable when you don't have the control. You need to get comfortable in the darkest hour. If you're comfortable there, you're comfortable anywhere. That's how my mind sees it. I'll spar these guys. I'll stand on the rope over there. Say, come on, let it at me. Let it at me. I'm not going to throw anything back. I'm just going to see. I'm just going to try and slip, block, and then get out of the way. Because if that happens in a fight, if I've never done that before, and then we've got in a fight, and now this geezer's going crazy at me, and I've crumbled, take a shot, get knocked out, that's down to my own fault.
Yes.
I've done that in the sparring now. I've put myself through that, and they hit me, they catch me, and it hurts. I'll be honest, it does hurt, and they catch me. But you're not going to catch me in the same place twice.
No.
That's a silly thing to do. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think sometimes it needs to be out of your own control to get comfortable, and also gaining the knowledge to be able to take control back. That's a hard thing to do when the fight ain't going your way. How do I bring that control back my way? How do I turn the table back on this? You look at fighters like Canelo, like Bivol. Bivol Canelo is a good example of that, I'll say. The control was out of Canelo's hands for a majority of the fight. Bivol went on to win, but he didn't look lost in there. there was points where he was grabbing control back. They was fighting for control of the pace.
I remember.
Of who's going first, who's going after, who's returning. Bivol's a bigger man. A good big man always beats a good little man.
The size was too much.
That's common knowledge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you get the best big man in the world and the best little man, big man's going to win every time. So that's just how the cookie crumbles. But yeah, I think it's good to see how fighters feel when they are uncomfortable.
I'll say very quickly, the thing about when you say this stuff about Joshua, but I say the fans, the industry is the problem as well. You put too much pressure on them when they lose all this you come with this unrealistic. What's a good example? I'll give you a very quick example. So, I mean, you got like Eddie Hearn, now they're talking about Joshua fighting Fury and Wilder next. Speaking objectively, I'd say I don't think he's going to beat those guys in his next fight. Not being disrespectful, and this is the problem with boxing where they don't want to hear a real opinion. From what I've seen, I put Wilder up, put Joshua up. Wilder, a guy who's dropped literally everyone he's ever boxed. Joshua's not the hardest to hit. I just don't see Wilder's going to come with a wild swing. I just don't think you're putting this pressure on him. I'll give you a quick example. Like what Eddie Hearn does. Eddie Hearn, do you watch his interviews?
Yeah,
he'll say a lot of unrealistic things. So he says stuff like when he compares Joshua to Lennox Lewis, Joshua's not as good as Lennox Lewis. So he'll say stuff like, well, you know, if you look at their fights, in the same amount of fights, Joshua's got to a high, but that's an irrelevant point. Yeah. The end of it's irrelevant. Things are
different pool of competition.
It doesn't. It's a different era. And you look at Katie. Sorry to keep bringing up Katie. It's like Katie Taylor. What Eddie Hearn will do if you put me and Katie Taylor to have a public debate, or say me and Katie Taylor we're both gonna interview Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn will tell you. An interview between Eddie and Katie. He goes, Katie will do a better interview with me. You go, why? Well, listen, she's much more experienced than Michael. She's been interviewed much more. Blah 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 blah. You know the levels, and she's he'll make a lot of irrelevant points. Yeah. At the end of the day, if I was to interview Eddie Hearn for an hour, and Katie Taylor was to interview him for an hour, my one's going to be much more interesting. The first question I'd ask him, Eddie, I've known you over 10 years. You said you're going to spar me. Like, why are you so scared of me? I'm not going to take the mick. Like, come on, let's spar. That question alone, and what I'm saying about Kate, where I'm going with this, I'm not taking any shots at her, but you can see she's not a talker to the level that... No, so it's like you come with this... and this is what I'm saying about Josh. Well, you know, and Joshua, what he's done in boxing, like, mate, if you take them to... You don't even need to be a boxing fan. Wilder's dropped everybody. I just don't think he's going to come out long talk... Once he starts swinging... Just leave them. I'd say open. If that was my fight, I'll just, you know, he hasn't got the belts. Why put? I just say, you know what? I think Wilder's too much for us right now. So when you're coming with these unrealistic expectations, and if he was to actually go in with Fury and Wilder, I don't think they're gonna. But if they do and he gets knocked out, but then his team are part of the. But you're coming with these unrealistic. You know, I've met Mike Tyson, I've met Joe Frazier, like they're about the same size as me. It's like trying to say you're gonna match me up against heavyweights. It's just come on, it's not gonna.
Let's have some realism. Let's
just be realistic.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, go on.
And Joshua, if he fought Dillian White, I'd pay to see that.
So would I?
I'd want to see that. I'd love to see that. If he fought Wilder, like you say, I'd get a dodgy stream up or something and watch it and might watch the highlights the next day because I know Wilder's probably gonna.
He's gonna knock him.
Come out crazy. Yeah. Even if Joshua hits him, there's a knockout, do you know what I mean? But I'd be more interested with a Dillian White Joshua. It's nice, well levelled. There's previous history behind them. It builds up a little bit of something more enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
I think the whole thing about boxing nowadays, everything's so interesting but the boxing.
Yes, I agree.
You see what I mean? People want to see him calling saying on an interview, and then him tweeting him back, and then he tweets him back, and then he tweets a funny picture. That's more interesting at the minute than the actual when they get to fight each other. I don't understand in this world of why you would call everyone everything on social media. You're about to have a fight with them. You've got a date where you and him are going to put a pair of gloves on, get in a ring, and have it out. So while you do all this, that's one thing I do like about Joshua. He isn't
on social media like that.
Yeah. He ain't doing the Fury. What Fury does is amazing, is brilliant, and is a masterclass because he don't really care. Fury, he's just winding them up. When he's ready, then he goes and he wins. Joshua does it the other side. He stays quiet. He trains. Then he comes out and he wins.
Yeah.
But this whole talking generation is a bunch of fucking. It's fugazi. It's a smoke mirror. It means nothing. What did you calling me saying on Twitter mean?
Okay, but I can answer it very quickly. You know a guy called, have you heard of Tekashi 69?
Yes.
Okay, so the first thing you mentioned, all right, talking's easier than action. A lot of people, with me, when people say things to me, I'll stand up for myself. As I've said at work before, even last year, I walked out of a job. It's an agency, so basically it's an online portal. You can see it on my online system. So basically, I've warned the guy, he's very hard to get on with. I said, look, dude, don't talk to me yet. Don't talk to me like that. I'm not one of these little 19-year-olds desperate for a bit of university money. I'll just walk out if I feel like it. So it got to about 7 o'clock. I was supposed to finish the shift at 12 midnight. But that agency, they'll pay you for the hours you do. Kept provoking me. I just said, you know what, forget it, I'm gone. I left, and as I was coming upstairs, you know, he was there, this and that. I just pushed, get out of my way. If you got a problem, come outside. Yeah. Now, the point of this, and he actually went and wrote online, and second time walking out, he pushed the manager on the way out. And point of this, most people can't stand up for themselves in real life. Like, I'm a cool guy, I'm a nice guy, I'm polite, I'm very calm, I'm not an emotional person. But if I have a problem, I don't mind saying to people, I'll take you, you know, I know it's easier when people are not watching. So, you know, I'd say to someone, say, can I talk to you in private for a moment? And, you know, I'll say, look, I don't really appreciate the way you're talking. I can do that. A lot of people can't do that. And there's people you can't, managers, or it's very difficult to talk to them. Yeah. So they'll come online and vent. A lot of people are cowards. I mean, when I've seen fights happen in public, and quick example, I was on the bus one time, these guys were arguing. I can hear them through the headphones. Let them go on, took the headphones off, say, guys, I know it's got nothing to do with me, but it's 7 a.m, we're all just trying to get to it. Can you just leave it now? I was the only person on the bus to speak out. And that's an example. I'm not judging anyone, but a lot of people, obviously for whatever reason, whether they're
not get involved,
whether they're scared or can't. So this is what I'm saying about social media. And I get slagged off on my YouTube channel, but a lot of them don't really bother me, and it's like funny. I don't mean to go on, but even when I tell people, even when I say, I don't really care about people I've never met. You lot can take shots at me. I've had people say, "Oh, Michael, you deleted my comment." I said, I don't delete comments. Like if you've sworn or whatever, I think YouTube deletes some of the comments. Yeah, I said, I've been punched in the head by Kel, but words aren't gonna upset me. Yeah. So a lot of them, they come online and vent. A lot of celebrities, they can't, you know, I don't want to keep going. So that's
that point you made though, is a good point. And that whole situation there, you're obviously a man who's done boxing for a long time. You've not done it to the highest level. You've been exposed to the sport.
Yeah.
You've put yourself in them situations. They're not nice situations to be in when you're getting punched in the face by Kell Brook, but it's an experience, it's a memory that you can use in later life. If kids and boxing was advocated for secondary schools, primary schools, and pushed into the communities like football is pushed into the communities, like they do karate and things like that, then these kids wouldn't be on the phone doing this, venting, whatever, in the comments, talking about this, talking about that. If they had an issue with each other, they'd be confident enough in their self and their own character, you wouldn't even get fights. You'd get two people that are confident in themselves to have a conversation and go, this is what I think's wrong. He goes, this is what I think's wrong. And how are we going to come to a conclusion about that? People don't have that.
Which I've done that before.
It's a very simple thing to do, but people think it's so hard, and it's so. If you've got two respectful people from a boxing background, they're probably not. Most boxers don't want to get into a fight. That's quite a common theme when you meet boxers. You don't see a lot of boxers fighting people on the street or getting themselves into trouble. They don't do that because they sort everything else out before it escalates to that situation. People go online and do this, do that, see each other, get carried away. Oh, go have a fight with him. You don't have a fight with no one. You've got to have a fight with him. Have a conversation. If he's still in that conversation, pursuing and pushing it on, then you're more well in your right to do whatever you feel like needs to be done. But to not have that conversation first is very
immature.
Immature is the right word to use, and there's no other word you can use about that. It's an immature thing to do. It's why not try and resolve this first? If you thought about this politically, If Putin said a bad word about Trump and Trump pressed the red button, we'd all be dead by now.
Of course.
The world don't spin by people fighting each other and he becomes better than him. The world spins because people have a conversation and level up. It's the only way people get better. It's the only way evolving works is people having the conversation. What do you not like about me? Oh, okay, dun. I don't like this about you. All right, dun. Are we going to leave this or are we going to fix this situation? That's between the two people. So...
But the thing is, I'm not going to go deep into politics, but I can articulate it very well. I won't go deep. When you look at politics, I think a lot of people are very, very stressed in life. So when you say you take Trump, when you were saying all that stuff about we're going to build a wall to keep out Mexicans, if I could meet him, I'd say, but why not target the root causes of why Mexicans are coming? I mean, I've seen brutal... What's the worst video I saw? I'm trying to remember. I see some of these Mexican gangs. Someone showed me a video chopping women. I've seen brutal videos. So obviously, where you're creating all this silly, we're going to build a wall, but if you target the root causes and sort out the situation in Mexico and sort out the drugs industry, so same with the immigration right now. A lot of them, but they're not targeting the root causes. No. I think benefits is too easy to get in this.
Water at the source.
Yeah, so if you target the root causes, so when you get a lot of these people stressing back and forth, so when you say the left-wing guy, they should come over here, I'll give you both sides. The thing with them just coming over here, like the country I'm from Eritrea, where you get a lot of people that want to come here. I've spent 27 years here, but then a lot of them, they don't speak English, they've got no skills. If you just let them all here, but how are they going to survive? So that's from that point of view. On the opposite, people are people, they can come here. I say the most rational way to deal with it, I just think it's got to be organised. I don't judge anyone. Like people, you can come, but because not everyone's as articulate as me. It's like, where you're getting a lot of them coming over, the reason people are getting frustrated with it, where they might not know how to explain it, because you're getting people coming from a different culture where they don't speak, they don't have skills. Like for me, when I went to Eritrea, I can speak their language, but culturally, when I'm trying to tell them, I haven't spoke to my dad in 6 years, don't want to talk to him. In the UK, no one's going to question me on that. But over there, where you keep questioning me, I say, I was getting frustrated. I'm very calm, but when I'm trying to tell you, look, I've got no issue with him, but even if he died tomorrow, if someone I haven't spoke to in 6 years, there's a lot of stuff I could go into. I'll just say, if he died and you came to me, your father's passed away, I'll just say, okay, cool. So when you're asking me, someone I haven't even met in 6 years, but with them, they will go back and forth and back and forth and back. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we're going in a circle where there's no end result of this race.
So going back to the whole immigration, so I know how to articulate it. I wouldn't call it racism, but what is with a lot of people here, when you're getting people come from a different country and they're taking away your culture where you can't say certain words, and we'll go into it another time. So what I'm trying to say, going back to the whole main thing, so a lot of people are very stressed out in life. They've got so much things going on where you don't know how to chill and rationally, logically
look at it.
So when they run into you, any little thing will trigger them. But with me, because I'm so chill and I'm able to look at things logically, and where, there's some people in boxing I don't get on with, but I'm able to look at, okay, cool, what can I do about it? But not everyone's like that. So they want to go into the whole social, and they want to vent, and so I just, like I say, take shots at, it is what it is.
Take as many shots as you want, unless you're going to try and take a real shot at me in real life. I don't care.
You know
what I mean? I think Floyd Mayweather said it the best. Any publicity is good publicity. Keep speaking my name as much as you want. In boxing, it's the only sport in the world where a bad guy can go on and do good things. Chris Eubank Jr. has played the bad guy his whole life. He's also got a Bugatti. Do you know what I mean? So it's like...
Andrew Tate's
a perfect example. Hate me, hate me, hate me, hate me. But the more you're hating me, the more you're seeing me. The more people are going, I actually want to listen to what he's got to say now. I don't like this guy. And then I'm going to say something... The pool of what Andrew Tate does so well, he'll say 5 crazy things and then one thing that's bang on. And you'll go, wow, that was right. Listen again, 5 crazy things, 1 bang on thing. You're like, he's really speaking some knowledge. And then the more you delve into this pool of craziness that is this man's crazy life, it does start to influence you. You see, in the schools nowadays, like in secondary schools, they have to have meetings about Andrew Tate.
Yeah, I've seen. I know.
That's mental. That is to.
No, it's not. It's not. It's human nature. People, they copy what they see, don't they?
No, I'm saying from the school's perspective of them being scared of this influencer. that they've got to do an assembly about it, calling him this, calling him that, putting a label on it, and forcing the kids what to think and not making them make their own mind up. That's a very dangerous thing to do, to take away that thinking and understanding mindset of a child developing. That's a very, very scary thing to do. And the only people that have the right to do that is the mum and dad of that child.
Yeah.
The school don't have that right to do that, I believe, anyway, because I think it's a bit like, around to a political view. If they were going in schools, this political man's really good, this one's really bad, that's an influence from a greater power than that child, the teacher and the head teacher and all these older people. They're going, oh, they're smart, they've got money, they believe in this guy, okay, I'll probably do that as well, and I'll be like them.
But I'll give you a quick example, but a lot of these people, the ones that are against Andrew Tate, I think he talks a lot of sense, and yeah, some things he says are dumb, but a lot of people in life are very emotional, I'll give you an example. I met a gay man once, we were talking. Now he's a very hard guy to talk to, so basically what I said to him, what he was telling me about, oh yeah, you know, people have got aggressive with him before and this and that, so I explained it to him. I said, the thing about you, I said, I'm a very straight talker. You know, I don't care if I offend people, I just say what's on my mind. I'll give you my advice. I said, thing about you, you're very camp, you're very, like, you're flirtatious with men you don't know. I said, I'm very chill, I'm very calm, but before you even spoke to me, you were behaving towards me a certain way. Now, it's not, and this guy won't let you, are you saying it's okay? No, dude, just let me finish. I said, I'm not the sort of person, I don't mind, like, you flirted with me, it doesn't really bother me that much. But when you're just going to go around with men, because you don't know me, you just came up to me and started flirting. So I tried to explain that if it was my brother or like roadmen or street guys, I'd say my advice, tone it down around people like that, because you don't know how they're going to react, you know. But this guy got very emotional, his friends were there. He will not let you, he kept shouting over, are you saying it's okay to beat up gay people? It's like, what the hell? I said, if I wanted to beat you up, I would have done it by now.
Yeah,
I said, come on. His friends are there, his friends came up to me, and they sided with, like, yeah, no, just sort of relax. Dude, I'm not going to hit the guy. Like, there's a lot of, like, I wouldn't have the guts to hit Mike. I said, no, his friends were cool. I said, I wouldn't have the guts to hit Mike Tyson, so I'm not going to hit someone I know I can beat. It's like, but why are you not coming up to me and just, they're like, oh yeah, he's like that. You need to talk to him. Because there's people I know professional boxers that have said, I won't name him, he once told me if a gay man flirted with it, he goes, I'd punch the guy. And this guy, he's super welterweight, 6 foot.
He's going to do some damage, yeah.
I said, but you lot need to talk to him, because I'm trying to have he's shouting at me, he's throwing out wild, some of the things he's accusing me of, like, I could sue him. I'm not going to do it, but, and this is what I'm saying to finish off now. I mean, it's been a great conversation, but this is the problem with the world. When you say the thing about Andrew Tate, but a lot of those people that are saying ban this, ban that, but you're not living in the real world. And when someone like me is trying to tell you realistic things, but you can't just tell them, oh, Andrew Tate's evil. What I'll tell him, I think some things he says are common sense, but when he says things like, he said something, when you're in a relationship with a woman, you own the woman. But he knows him. I said, but you shouldn't use that kind of language because. But he said it along the lines of, yeah, but you know, I should be allowed to tell the woman whether she's allowed to go on holiday or not. And if there's a fight, I'm the one that has to I'm the one that has to fight. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I didn't back. Well, I say, yeah, but of course you're much bigger and stronger than a woman.
That makes
you shouldn't. When you say own a woman, I say, but when you say things like that, then people are gonna react. Come on, Andrew. Like you should know.
That's his magic, though.
I think he does it, yeah.
He makes them react. He makes them watch. And then they get to the end of the video, hear the good thing that he said, the smart, actual logic. He's not a stupid man. He's not a stupid man. He's a very, very, very smart man. Great talker. Very good at the way he executes himself and shows to everyone how he wants to be seen. That might not be him, but he shows to you how he wants you to see him. And it's very, very smart the way he does it. He does mad things and says mad things to get the audience captivated by the mad things. Oh my God, that's so wrong.
Yeah.
Bang, then he says something logical and you're like, well, do I agree with this man? Do I not agree with this man? So you don't even know what to think anymore. Keeps people watching. They want to make their decision about him. Some people will make a decision about him and say, oh, he's this, he's that, he's whatever. Some people will be on the other end of the spectrum. That is life. There's 7 billion people on this world.
Exactly.
Not everyone's going to agree with each other. People need to agree that we're not all going to agree, and that's healthy. People need to understand that it's good to not agree with each other all the time. If we all agreed with each other on everything, on every subject, every political matter, every cultural thing ever, it'd be like a bunch of robots. It'd be like a bunch of robots and the world would be boring. There's no fun without a little bit of controversy, you know what I mean? That's the fun part. That's why people make views and people click buttons and people wake up the next morning because of anything. If we was all robots, you'd be going, oh, this is well boring, isn't it? Same thing, everyone's getting on with each other, Come on, someone have an argument, you know what I mean? Someone have an argument. It's like boxing fights. How many fights do you see where the two guys get on really well and you're like, oh, this is really boring. It's not that it's a horrible thing these guys are getting on well. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but when two guys don't like each other, Davis Garcia, everyone's interested in this fight, not only because it's a great fight.
The personality clash.
But the personalities are clashing. You're going, wow, these kids really don't like each other. They're going to put everything on the line, April 22nd, and they're going to have it out. They're going to end this beef. That is what the world is captivated on nowadays. That's why this Misfits thing does so well.
Because what I would love to see, I want to see a return of the Hagler-Leonard personalities.
Yes.
Well, yeah, they'll clash. They won't go too far. But once they get in that ring, if you saw the way... You remember when Hearns went staggering back and the way Hagler ran up on him?
It was like a leopard on a fucking lamb. You know what I mean? It was a killer instinct. That was a man that went, I've got him. And he wasn't afraid to take his chance. He went, fuck this geezer, I'm going to take him now. And that's great. But that only comes with a little bit of dislike towards the person. No one wants to kill no one in a boxing.
No.
But sometimes there's some fights where people do genuinely want to do damage. Mike Tyson's made a life of it.
What, nose into the brain? You remember that quote?
No.
I want to drive his nose,
into his brain.
Yeah, the bone in his nose. I want to drive it up into the brain.
One he said, but he was even crazy at press conferences. There's a video of a random guy, not even involved in the fight, shouting saying cat, and he starts going crazy at him.
I've seen it. They should ban Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
And then he started swearing.
And then he's like, get in there, you won't man have to punch me, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant. So, but to be fair, the Mike Tyson thing, that was genuinely I believe that was his
Yeah, it was genuine.
character. He weren't putting on a facade for no one. That was genuinely what he meant. And when he said them words, you weren't joking around with that man, you know what I mean? But that's he made a career out of it, made millions of pounds, and made it interesting for people to watch. No one wants to watch a boring fight.
But listen, I would love to see people like Hagler, Oscar De La Hoya, that sort of personality. Well, yeah, outside the ring, yeah, they'll do things. Yeah. But these days, I mean, who's a good example? Chisora. He does all his tables and this and that. But then when he actually gets in the ring, the Parker fights and...
it's a different personality. I always say, keep that same energy. If I'm at a press conference, and you can mark this down for the future, if I'm for a press conference with a rival fighter and he says anything remotely into that aggression world towards me, I'll say keep that same energy. Because I'm going to keep that same energy when it comes to fight night. I'm going to keep that same energy when I'm punching you in the face. You know what I mean? And if you ain't, well then, don't come up to me after and say, oh, let's be friends. No, you've said that to me now.
Yeah.
When we get to fight night, keep the energy that this gangster, whatever you've got now, bring that to fight night and let's see how you really wanna
behave,
play. You know what I mean? So look, we're in a sport where you get to put the hands on the other geezer.
Legally and get away with it.
Legally and get away with it. So there should be no arguments or whatever, because the end of the argument is we're gonna have a fight on this day. There's gonna be a winner, there's gonna be a loser. I'm gonna knock you out.
But a lot of people, hopefully we finish off soon, but a lot of people, once they get in there, like say Joshua, I've boxed enough people, but then obviously they'll hold back because you just want to survive. And if you're just, you can probably articulate it better than me, but when you watch Joshua against Franklin, I'm not going to be harsh on him, a decent performance.
You've got to be real about it.
But obviously he's not going all out. He's not going in there with a mentality, I'm going to knock this guy. No, I'm not going to judge him. As I touched on it before, but I'd blame boxing. I'd blame because the fighters aren't fighting often. You're not telling them, and you're coming with unrealistic. Look, we're all going to make mistakes. I mean, Eddie Hearn just as one example, I mean, obviously English is his first language, but sometimes, yeah, look, you're gonna make spelling mistakes, or you're gonna make a mistake when you're talking. You might slip, even though I'm a very good English speaker, but you know, sometimes you just might mispronounce a certain word. So it's the same with boxing. If you're gonna keep fighting, yeah, look, you may lose at some point. But people, you don't even need to be a boxer, but you can just say from the outside looking in, yeah, look, sometimes you're going to make mistakes in life. You're going to lose fights. Like when I did GCSEs, I studied GCSEs for 5 years. But I mean, you know, it's like you're not going to get every single question. The overwhelming majority, you're not going to get and you've been doing that for 5 years. You're not going to get every single question right. So imagine someone, you go up against Franklin, but this guy's been boxing for how long? You know, however long he's been, how many people he's boxed. You know, the way I see some of these guys punch in the bag today, he's been doing that again and again and again. So it's like when I sparred Kell Brook, I'm nowhere near his level. But he was messing around. I looked at him, I went bam, I landed a lucky shot. Listen, there's no shame in that. You know what I mean? I've known him a long time, but he took me too lightly. I mean, but as I say, I've been jumping in and out of the ring with people. And even that punch I landed, it's because I was so cautious of getting hit. I could have landed more shots if I wanted, but I was worried about what was coming back. As soon as I landed, he got upset, dropped me 4 times in less than a minute with body shots. That's what I'm saying. They come with unreal. At the end of the day, Joshua's chin's up here. The opponent might go for a wild...
I mean, he's out.
Which is... Yeah, but, you know, to finish, it's just like... But they put pressure on the fight, and you come in with unrealistic, where everyone's got an opinion. Everyone's, well, you know, he should do this and do it. But I could say the same thing to the media. When you've been doing these interviews for so long, for me, I'm trying to get into other stuff. I want to interview politicians and so on. And a lot of them there, but then you're not breaking out of your mold. I'm not going to ask you to be a fighter, or someone like Steve Bunce or Gareth A. Davies or Cougar, but you're doing the same interviews over and over. So, but you're not developing from and you're not having the guts to ask people challenging questions. If I was to interview Fury, I would have I've done it years ago, but I'll just say to him straight up, the whole Usyk fight, I'll just say, with all due respect, in my opinion, I just don't think you want to fight him. And all the stuff he said, well, I say Usyk's from a country, like the country I'm from, like it's a very different mentality. You can't tell me he's scared to fight. This man's out there on the front, you know, he's putting him to even be in Ukraine. So if Fury wants to say, well, he's not on the front line, all right, to even be inside the war zone, you're telling me he's scared. But he's boxed Joshua twice. Them guys, they don't think like that. And whereas Tyson, and this is the last thing I'll say, but he's got a history of doing this. But you know, he didn't rematch Klitschko. Then you started saying all the stuff about mental health. You know, not being harsh, I'm being objective. Don't give me all this, Usyk don't want to, I don't believe you. So why are you doing all this ranting on social media? You know, but none of them will actually have, I think Steve Bunce only said it once. He said something about how crazy boxing is and how it's hard to ask them straight questions, because if you do, they don't want to give access or what. Maybe it doesn't matter, I just say publicly, don't talk to me again, screw it. I just don't think you want to fight this guy for whatever reason.
Because they make the negotiations so public, they try and every little detail, I want this split, I want that split. The watchers, the listeners, the people paying the money, then get attached to it, they get their own little say in it, per se. Whereas if they had left whoever sorts out Tyson Fury's side and whoever sorts out Usyk's side, left them in a room together, they would leave that room with a contract, both fighters to sign, and would both be happy to fight each other under them terms of this contract. Because they take everything on social media, and he does a video, and then he does a video, it then spirals out of control again. Give the people whose job it is, let them do their job. I understand you want to make as much money as you can.
I get
want
that.
Things to be as best as you, but that's why you hire people that have your best interests at heart and people that you trust.
And the sport's best interest at heart.
And the sport's best interest, exactly that want to make the best fights at all the time for everyone to be interested and watched him. Once again, you cannot praise Davis and Ryan Garcia anymore.
No.
Whoever loses is not a loser. Because they've went in the prime of their lives, maybe even just before they're at their best, they're only young still, but at their most highest point, they've gone, I'm going to roll the dice, and I'm going to fight the other best guy that I can get my hands on. Same with Haney Lemachenko. That's unreal.
Yeah, that came
How
out
have
of
we got a
nowhere.
division
Yeah.
Where we've got these 2 fights going on. It's amazing. It's amazing, but no one's crediting that enough.
And that's my point though. And whoever loses, they're gonna get criticism.
They're going to get criticism saying they're shit or whatever. They're not shit. He's competing against the next best other guy ever. Not because he's knocked out a couple tomato cans of a lead hook and everyone's going, oh my god, he's so amazing. He's had a tough fight. Everyone calls that Rolly Romero dealership now. He got knocked out by Gervonta Davis, the man who's been taught by Mayweather his whole life. And had that kind of experience of one of the greatest fighters ever. And Calvin Phillips, I think it's Calvin Phillips, is that Gervonta Davis' coach?
I don't know.
Oh, it's
I don't know his name.
something. He's a very, 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 very smart man. And it's the same on Ryan Garcia's side with the Oscar De La Hoya influence. They've been Mayweather and Oscar De La Hoya for each other at good times in their lives. I think this just needs to happen more in boxing.
But thing is, look, we'll leave it there. But the main thing I'm saying though, but the fans and the media, they're not building this. They're not telling the fighters, like when he loses, there needs to be more people, like I would say. Like if I get a chance to interview these guys, I've met Oscar and Mayweather. I've never met Davis or Ryan. But one of the first things I'd say to them if I meet those two, I'd be like, listen, I give you a lot of credit and respect for taking that fight. And if Gervonta, say, knocks out Ryan Garcia, I'd say to him, look, it's not a big deal. You got knocked out. I mean, you know, Bernard Hopkins lost his first pro fight. Yeah. Look, it's not about getting knocked out. It's about what you do afterwards. I say, I respect you for taking that fight. And if I watch it's a great fight, I really enjoyed that. Because when I watch Leonard's versus Hearns, I love that fight. So I say, look, well done. But the fans need to be saying, they need to be stepping up and say, you know, instead of, oh, well, you know, he lost his rubbish now. Because he lost the fight. Okay, let's go through your life. Yeah. So you've won every single thing.
You can turn any loss into a W. It's just how some people take a loss and it affects everything. Some people look at a loss and go,
But in football, it's said to cut you. But then keep the same energy. But it's like, but footballers lose all the time, and you stick with them. Yeah. If you're gonna do something that, like, if you're gonna box at a highest level, but the other guys are someone's gonna lose. But they don't say it in other sports. They don't say it in basketball. Michael Jordan, these sort of guys, they get universally. Like recently, LeBron James, he got so much credit and recognition. LeBron James, he scored the most points in basketball ever. But they don't say that in boxing. They don't say, listen, who's a good example? Froch. Oh, listen, Froch, in boxing history, Froch is in a rare class of someone that will go and fight people. They don't get that recognition. So the people coming up, if I was on that level, I'm going to be looking, well, so what's the motivation? If you was to ask me to take on a guy that, I sparred O'Hara Davies years ago. Like, at first I could handle him. That guy could always punch. Yeah, but he, you know, I'm 2 years older. Like when he was 16, I was 18. I could handle him. His feet were slow. His hand speed was okay. But he could flip and punch. I could spot him at first, but once he knew how to cut off a ring, I didn't really want to know. And it's not even that I couldn't handle him. I just thought, I'm not getting in there. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm going to be looking, well, if you're asking me to take on O'Hara Davies, if I'm at that level, well, what's the motivation? If I get knocked out, you're just going to say, oh, well, he got knocked out. Yeah. Why should I fight O'Hara when I could go fight someone like, who else is in there? Let's just say someone doesn't hit as hard. I'm like, well, this guy, Derry Matthews, let's just say Derry Matthews. Yeah. So I say Derry Matthews probably ain't going to chin me with one shot. I'm not saying he can't, but you know, he don't hit as hard as a hard. So why am I going to take a hard? Let me go take Derry. So this is what the fighters are going to do. I've said enough. They're going to say, well, if you're not giving credit to, you know what I mean? Why should I put myself in that position?
Last week, Melinda,
we
were for a while.
Yeah.
I watched the All Access Showtime Sports do on the Davis-Ryan Garcia fight, and Ryan Garcia said it himself. He said, if we keep getting credit for these amazing, great fights, you'll see more. It's in the fans' hands. Not in the promoters' hands, it's in no one's hands, it's in all the fans of boxing's hands. Credit these great fighters for fighting each other. That's all that we can do as fans and as people that love this sport. If we want it to propel and stay on the top, because as it is, it's dying. Whether people like it or not, the UFC is getting bigger, that's coming global, all these other sports are growing. We've got to keep this sport interesting for everyone to watch, and that is only by having great fights.
But all I say, this is the last thing, but when you say it's dying, but as I said, that's the reason. With football, we've just had the World Cup come and go, but these guys are creating the momentum. Like, I was in London, you remember the night Morocco beat, I can't remember who they beat. The Moroccans were...
Yes, they won 2-0 or something, didn't they, in the first round of the World Cup.
If you were in Oxford Circus, the Moroccans were going crazy. They were holding up traffic flags everywhere. I can speak one word in Arabic, which is like, Kayfa haluk, shukran, shukran. Kayfa haluk means how are you, shukran means thank you, that's all I know. The Moroccans were going crazy. There was police like pushing, like get out of the road. This is what I'm saying. If you have that same thing in boxing, where in football, people are going crazy from father to son. Son, when the son's like 15, I'm going to take you to your first Arsenal game. Got the Arsenal. So, but then if you do this in boxing, that's all it is. I've said enough. Unless you want to talk for another hour and 15 minutes.
I'm just going to say, people, when I'm on the screens, keep a watch. You will not be disappointed in any fashion. It will always be fun to watch. Thank you.
Cool. And remind people your name, social media
Filey
account.
James.
Yeah.
Type that in, it will come up under the captain, the man. So yeah.
So how do you spell the name, just in case?
Filey.
Cool.
Perfect. Thank you.
Enough for today. Filey James. Thank you, bro.